Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping you can hear me okay. Sorry for the delay. I am doing this live today, and I was trying to do this through the group live to allow Kim Wilson to co-host this with me, but I'm assuming I didn't set that up properly. So you will see me streaming live just as a post on this page. If you are in the event, I will get this posted in there a little bit later on, but for the time being, this is just running as a live post. So thank you for joining today. Kim, if you are with me, I appreciate you joining me, but it doesn't feel, I don't think I'm getting, oh, Kim is there. Hi, Kim. I'm going to do my best to check in on questions if you may have any. But the main purpose of today is I think there's a big misconception of, I'm working out on this machine versus I'm doing, feel good applications. And many of you may think, I feel good every time I use the machine, which is obviously a goal and what we want to just making sure my camera's good here, accomplish for you. But some of you are not able or not actively doing what I would call hardcore fitness, and some of you are doing hardcore fitness. So with lipedema, Derkums, any of these conditions we discuss on this page, like anything in life, it's not really about the label on you. So whether you're dealing with hypermobility, diabetes, lipedema, using a vibration machine and what fashion you are able to use a vibration machine is very much driven by where you are physically starting. Pain, mobility, poor balance, fatigue. So everyone can do a bit of feel good and fitness, but it's the fitness that kind of gets muddy. Am I working out or am I just standing here? These type of things. So if you are not an active person now, you will struggle with, what is fitness on a machine. You probably lack technique. If you've never worked with a personal trainer or a physical therapist that has offered you some exercises, a lot of times we're wondering, how do we get started? So I'm going to go over a few basic positions today that can be used for either feel good or fitness, and I am going to go over some parameters of time. As far as settings for your machine, because we're all using lots of different types of machines here, we're going to be working in mid-frequency ranges, which is going to be 12 to 14 hertz. If you are working with a machine that's got speeds or levels as the indicator, you want to be working within the mid ranges. So if you've got a machine with 50 speeds, I want you in the 20 to 30 range. If you've got a machine with 99 or 100 levels, you want to be in the 50, let's say, to 70 range. The other marker, amplitude. So speeds aside, there is no perfect frequency, speed, level to do any one thing. It's very much about what you're doing on the machine. The settings do have purpose. Different settings are going to feel different to your body, but the big differences I wanted to go over today is the difference between feel good and fitness as far as what the positions will look like and the durations. Okay, I need a slurp of coffee. Kim, can you hear me okay on that end? I'm assuming, just looking at comments. If you cannot hear me, let me know. I'm looking and I see that I have my volume off. So if there has been a volume issue and I've just been like this for the last minute, my apologies. I'm going to recap some of the things that I've discussed here as I get up on the machine. You've heard me okay, so Kim is saying yes. There are 5 of you here today so far. Thank you for joining. As always with my videos, if it is not something you are able to start with us, or if you're joining partway through the session, it's always going to be in my video library after the fact. So for those of you overseas, down under, that maybe the time isn't too accommodating, in the media under videos after the broadcast. So let's get up here and do some shaking. So today the biggest thing is understanding where you're starting. So if you are starting from a place of, I don't exercise very frequently, I need support, I fatigue, you'll notice I've got my trusty stool here. I always have a stool available. I would recommend that if you are doing fitness positions and you find you're fatigued, you need to take a little bit of a breather. You might just want to sit down and continue with us onto some of the harder things more as a visual attendee than actively participating. We are going to be doing two primary types of exercises today. We're going to go through a stand to squat variation, and then we are going to get down on the ground and work on some push-ups as well, which can be used for feel good and fitness. So just to get us warming up, set your machine, as I said, at a mid-speed level. If you're working on a machine that states actual frequency, I want you at the 12 to 14 hertz range. Again, if your machine has 50 speeds or levels, I want you at that 20 to 30 range. If your machine has 100 speeds, 50 to 70, somewhere in the middle. As you get going faster, and especially if you are a new person, this will conflict with what many machines out there may say in the manual. With this, you are not in the manual. Lipedema just got into the manual in the States to a degree. So when you're dealing with pain, fatigue, you're below baseline, get it going a little faster. It will be smoother, but reduce the distance between your feet, okay? For those of you that are not able to stand for long periods and get into some of the real active stuff here, I'm going to encourage you to sit in your chair. I'm just making sure my cameras are all lined up. Okay, so I'm not going to use the chair today. What we're going to do is we're just going to bend the knees slightly. I keep mixing my camera. I've got two cameras going here so I can get this onto Facebook for you after. But I think my head's getting cut off a little bit. Okay, so if we're dealing with hypermobility, pain of any kind, start with your feet in a closed position. And the first thing we always want to do, whether we're doing some feel good or fitness, I like to do a little bit of a pelvic tilt warm-up. You've seen this in other videos that I've done, but we spend a lot of time sitting, and getting up out of that chair is hard for some of us. But for those of us that are active and fit, the other reason I like to do pelvic tilts is just to loosen up the core and make your range of motion on the more difficult squats we're going to be doing here and a bit more challenging. So you're just standing here with your knee. And what we're going to look like is we're going to tilt the bum forward, backward. Just want to get a little bit of motion. Okay, we're not looking like this. We're just moving the pelvis. And your range of motion is going to determine how much you can do that. Okay? You could do little circles. I just want you doing this for 30 seconds to a minute. If anyone out there is dealing with low back issues, we will be getting down on the ground. You may want to prime and loosen up your lower back. Whether you're doing a feel-good or a fitness session, what I'm kind of doing right now is a bit of a warm-up. So a warm-up can be a feel-good session. A low back position is going to look like this. I prefer to do this facing forward, but I'm turning sideways so you can see. Those legs are almost bent. You have a nice straight spine. You don't want your head just a nice straight. You can hold your arms, put them on your hips, and you'll just feel that in the lower back. If you want some intensity, widen up your foot placement. The low back is something a little different than your thighs or your quads, where you can take a little bit more action. Okay, so from a feel-good standpoint, 1, 2, 3 minutes, shaking around. You could do something like this, as I've said in other sessions, really any time that your body feels that it needs it. So for feel-good, you're going to be using it to relieve symptoms. Short term, it's going to be, things like moving and improving that circulation, that lymph. Your balance will improve, probably dramatically, even just using the machine for a minute or two. So if you're heading to other therapies, you're going for a walk, you're coming back from the pool, a feel-good session could be a warm-up, a wind down. And feel-good sessions are typically going to be shorter. They're going to be less intense. The exercise positions themselves aren't terribly challenging. They're just designed to move and how often you can do a feel-good session, really let your body determine. Anytime you're feeling sluggish, you're starting to notice some swelling, you're fatigued, you're going to do something and you want to, give yourself a little better balance or an energy boost. A feel-good session, how long it's going to be, for me, typically under 5 minutes. I know many of you are using it for longer than that, but when you're first starting out, try anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. That could be a combination of standing, seated, and you could do that a couple, 3 times throughout the course of the day, just as symptoms present themselves. Fitness is almost in addition to that. Now, you can do elements of fitness and feel good in a workout, but fitness looks something more like this, where we're taking the position and making it more challenging. So in this instance, instead of just standing, I'm bending deeper. Notice that my knees aren't collapsing inwards or outwards. You want to keep your knees in line with your toes. If you have trouble doing that, squishy ball. I've shown this in other sessions. I have children, so I have access to these things. Take it, tuck it just above the knees. There was a question that I have not answered in the group earlier this week. Target swelling. Maybe you've got a lump on the inside of the calves. You've maybe got one on the inner leg somewhere. You can put this ball in other areas if you want to just sort of give a particular area of swelling a little bit of a boost. But be careful that it's not painful. If it's painful to touch that lump, or you've got some leftover bruising for something else, you kind of got to try it out and see what feels good. I like to use a ball to make my fitness a little bit more challenging. So when I do my squats, I'll put a ball between my leg, and it forces those inner and outer thigh muscles to become part of the equation. For me, personally, and there is no exact way to do fitness, there's lots of ways to work out. This is just an environment that makes those exercises easier, less impact on your body, less effort on your part. You're done quicker is the big thing here. So I like to combine as many things as I can and get more done in one position. So I add the ball. If you're wanting to tone, or you're working with weights or those type of things, you could add some upper body movement, do some lifts. Perhaps you've got some resistance bands. Most machines come with stretch cords or stationary straps of some sort if you want to incorporate some upper body. But the goal for fitness is to push to fatigue. Now I'm going to take a 2-second pause and explain this here because I'm shaking. But many trainers, may disagree with me, but changing the body, burning those calories, toning, building strength, you can go through the motions and do passive work, and you will notice some improvements. That's part of the amazing thing about apply. The better your technique and your fitness positions, the faster you're going to fatigue. And changing the body isn't about how long you do it or how awful the workout is. It's about pushing your body to that point where you gotta quit. Okay? So however long it takes you to get there is going to vary based on your current conditioning, how hard the position is. But what I'd like to challenge you to do, for those of you that are looking at, improving strength in the legs, working towards some weight loss goals, and you're doing squats, work within your own range of motion. If you do have joint issues, arthritis, hypermobility, not moving might be more challenging. So, find out what your low point is. If you have a machine with handles, hang on for stability, not for dear life. And just hold still until you can't anymore. Do a couple of reps of this if you're dying and you need to take a break. Take some intensity out of it. Bring the feet closer, keep the knees bent, and just take a little rest. But for fitness positions, the squat being the first one we're covering today, make the squat challenging for you. My squat's going to look different than Kim's, and Kim's is going to look different than anybody else on this page based on your body type. So make sure that you are pushing yourself for your body type and your range of motion. If you are not fatiguing 30 seconds to a minute in, you want to make the position itself more challenging. Okay? So that is a basic squat. Variations. I'm going to give you that. Okay? So for me in the morning, one thing I want to point out on the fitness piece for those of you that are working towards this, earlier in the day, if you are going to try and do some fitness and your calendar allows and your household allows, even if you're not doing a big session as far as lots of exercises, 20, 30 minutes, you could do a couple, 3 squats in the morning just to get that metabolism boosted. I like to use the machine for fitness in body parts. Kind of like you go to the gym and you do leg day, or you do core day, or maybe you're doing arm day. I don't do everything all at once, but you could. There's nothing saying you can't do more exercises if your day allows. I just caution you to not overdo it or do too long in the morning when you're starting out. I want to make sure we don't drain you. Until your body gets assimilated about a month in on this machine, if you're pushing yourself too hard, too long, you're standing too wide with your feet, I don't want you having a setback. All you're really going to experience is the same effects you may if you overexercise, and how that presents itself is going to be different for each of you. But work within your own parameters. Keep those fitness and maybe break them into body parts. So the last variation I wanted to show you on a squat is some of variations. I'm going to show you, this is my favorite, and once you're back, do this a little easier, but if you don't, have something to hang on to. But come down on the toes, come up, see a little. For good basic zillion on Google. You might have your own variation here and there that you're doing now, but if you don't do squats regularly, keep it simple. This is what we would call feel good. This is what we call fitness. So a lot of times I can't stress enough, the difference is what are you doing on the machine? Are you applying effort? Is it challenging for you and your body type? So that's where you're going to start seeing fitness gains. And fitness gains are a little bit longer term. Some of you have mentioned, I've gained a little bit of weight, and maybe some of you have gained some weight, but you've noticed some inch loss or some firmness. So don't be a slave to the scale. Muscle does weigh more than fat, and as you're starting with this technology, give it about 30 days. Just like a medication or something else that you might be trying. You want to give your body time to get used to this. You might notice some increased swelling. There's a lot of different things that people react to when they first start getting active again. And that's all that this is. You just don't need to spend as much time and effort doing it. So the thing I wanted to go over was feel good for upper body. I've done more than enough seated videos to start you guys out, where you put your hands on your knees or your elbows on your knees. But I haven't done a whole lot of actual upper body. So if you have the range of motion and the ability to get down on the ground, let me turn this sideways. Okay. When you're using a vibration platform for upper body, just like your feet, where your hands are will determine how much intensity and how much action you are exposing yourself to. Just making sure there's no questions. Okay. So with your hand is the point of contact. So wherever the heel of your hand is placed, that's going to drive how much movement you're experiencing on the plate. So if your hands are lined up on the plate like this versus this, you're going to experience a lot of different movement. And I do encourage playing with different hand positions, especially on the feel good stuff. I just wanted to show you what my hands look like before I get down on the ground. So feel good is doing positions where there's not a whole lot of effort. We just want to get stimulation into certain areas. And in this instance, we want to get it into the neck, the shoulders, the arms, the chest. And if you're able to get down on your knees, or if you got really good range of motion, you might want to, just squat down in front of it and see how it feels. I'm going to get the machine going. I'm going to leave it on the slowest speed setting just so you can sort of see the shake better on camera. But just like we were doing for the fitness positions, if you want to keep it simple, just keep your settings at those mid-ranges again, but bring your hands a little closer to start. Naturally, we feel we've got to be wide like we're doing it on the floor, but we want to reduce that amplitude or that displacement to reduce the intensity. Once you're in your position and you can see how it feels, then you can decide if you want more action. So I'm going to start with my hands about 2 to 3 inches apart. Other big tip with upper body is you want your shoulders in line with your hands. If your head is looking straight down at your head, or your head is looking straight down at your hands, you're going to get the most head vibration. So you can come back here if you just want to try a little bit of movement and not have the head part of the equation. But you'll notice as you move forward and incorporate more body weight, you'll feel the motion transfer into the neck and the shoulders. Just keep your head slightly past your hands to minimize the amount of head vibration. So I'm going to bring this up now. And again, working with a mid-speed, if your machine displays in frequencies, we're going to do this at about 12 to 14 hertz. And for feel good, this is, a minute or two is probably enough to get those upper lymph vessels moving and flowing. If you suffer a lot of tension, maybe you're on a computer all day, feel free to move around a bit. You know, now that you've got the stimulation there, do what you would normally do sitting at your desk. Roll those shoulders. Play with the angles of your hands. So I'm going to take my hands and kind of interlock them like this now. And you'll notice your elbows are facing outward. Okay? Just gives you a little bit more into the chest and the shoulders. I want you to play with the position of your hand, and you'll feel it in different areas of your upper body. Okay, if we wanted to start making it a little bit more challenging, we wanted to get into the realm of fitness, the progression from here, we're doing this, depending on you, probably 30 seconds to a minute. You don't need a whole lot of time in a position like this. If you're already down on the ground and doing some massage, that's a good opportunity to maybe do a little upper body that way. But if you want to start progressing to some fitness in this style of a position, we can slowly start adding body weight. So most people I'm talking to think that we go from here to here all of a sudden. And that's just not realistic for everybody. I'm hitting my mirror. So what I would suggest, in this position, we're in a box. You know, we can easily push ourselves away. We don't have a ton of body weight going into the machine. But if you slowly back your knees up and position your knees a little bit further away, you open up your core, there's less of a box, you'll feel a little bit more body weight going in. If that's not challenging enough after about 3-4 seconds, you can back those knees up a little bit more. Reposition yourself, get those shoulders over the hands. And if you're finding this is hard on the knees, you've got arthritis, perhaps a little mat or a fluffy towel or a carpet just to give you some padding, okay? If you're able to hold a position like this with a straight core for 30 seconds to a minute, you should be able to progress. Even if you're just doing this for a minute or two. What I don't want to see is this. This is just wrenching your back, and it's not good. So if you find you just can't keep that core straight, resume and take that body weight back out of the equation until you are able. Okay? A variation on this one, more for fitness, but can be applied as a feel-good application as well. The bat wings, the flappy part back here. So tricep dips, something that looks like this, are not my favorite, but I will do other sessions with those. I think a tricep dip personally is an advanced position. Too many of my clients are dealing with hypermobility and degenerative disc and shoulder issues that they're not doing those type of exercises now. But when you think of triceps, everybody always thinks of a tricep dip because of the name. But you can take a push-up, you're going to take those elbows, and instead of them sort of being away from your body, you're going to tuck them in against your ribs, okay? So same basic hand position, wherever you were comfortable, but we're going to take those elbows. And again, I'm not up on my toes, this is just a feel-good position, but you'll now feel it more on the sides, the back of the arms, the back of the shoulders. Out here is more biceps, here is more triceps. So again, more biceps, pull those in, triceps. This one will be much harder to do. Just make sure you're relaxed and you're breathing. If you're getting fatigued, just push yourself away. Take a break for, 10-15 seconds. You can do this in small, short reps. It's not about going 30 seconds to a minute. If you haven't exercised regularly and you're pushing your durations, once you hit fatigue, if you try pushing yourself, you'll find your technique just kind of falls apart. So keep it simple, keep it on the knees, whether you're just doing for feel good or you're just wanting to loosen up some tension. You're still going to get some basic fitness benefits, but fitness is going to be, again, more about intensity. It's going to be about you applying yourself and putting a little bit more effort forward. And a lot of times the position, ideally, is going to be more challenging. So, again, slowly back it up. Pull those elbows in towards the ribs, and you'll feel more body weight. So this is progressing to here. Okay? The other thing I wanted to talk about as far as, when should I use it? If you find yourself home during the day and you're stuck in quarantine or you're working from home, let your body decide. As I said, if you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling pain, if you're feeling fatigued, a feel good could be 1.5, 2 minutes on the machine just to get some lymph going. If fitness is your goal, instead of standing on the machine, squat for 1.5 minutes. You're still going to get the lymph, you're going to get the energy, but you're adding a little bit of fitness in there. And a lot of my trainers will, if you work out and you push yourself to fatigue and you're truly doing a workout, you should only have to exercise that muscle group once per day. But because so many of you are dealing with fatigue, co-issues, arthritis, whatever it is, sometimes our muscles are strong and we can do those durations, but our joints or other factors, limit our durations and how long we can hold those positions. So it's also okay for fitness is starting out to do lots of little reps within your session. So maybe you're doing 4 or 5 or 6 squat reps, but you're only doing them for 10 to 15 seconds at a time with a break in between, as an example. So same with upper body. So if you're just starting out with upper body, again, you might want to start without the body weight, progress to those more challenging positions when you're ready, but start building durations first. So we're going to turn the machine back on. I'm going to put my stool back in place. And we're just going to briefly review a few points here today. I should check and see if I have any questions. I have 7 viewers. Hello, 7 viewers. 8. I'm rambling today again. So, I just need a drink of coffee. My vice. Okay. So, warm up is critical. Whether you're warming up sitting on a chair, whether you're warm up sitting on a machine, whether you are active now or not, this is the perfect warm up and recovery machine. A warm up and a recovery session is pretty much a feel-good thing. You're not putting a lot of intensity. You're not pushing yourself to fatigue. You shouldn't be dripping in sweat when you're done. Starting out for fitness, we want to make sure that it's very clear, and I need to be clear about this, that fitness is applying yourself. It is effort. It is pushing to fatigue. So you may not be able to perform difficult fitness positions, but if I were to leave you with one point today, for those of you that are not currently using this for much other than feel good, try working on that squat. So we're going to take that basic standing position, which does feel good, and we're going to progress. And we're going to hold still. And you're going to hold still till you can't hold still no more. Held still too long, and you literally cannot stand back up, that's why you have your chair. So if worse comes to worse, and you're trying your best and you're giving her, but you just can't stand back up because you've gone too far, that's another good reason to just have a stool handy for your workout so you can sit yourself back down. For those of you that are doing squats, that are comfortable with them, we're keeping that heel planted. If you're not feeling the stimulation in your quads and it's maybe more in the knees or the shins or the fronts of the feet, your body is shifting your weight forward. It's trying to lift those heels off the platform because it makes it easier. So you want to have about a 60 to 70% of your weight into your heels. If you're doing squats now, feel free to do some slow, very controlled, very purposeful movements. Feel free to do anything that you are doing on the floor now. Maybe that's weights. Maybe that's medicine balls. Maybe it's playing catch with your children. Again, is about the position. There's a difference between a fitness position and there's a bit difference between a feel-good position. Squats to me are also a bit of an exception. If you are looking at accelerating weight loss, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing some legs every day. Most trainers will tell you to take a day off and let things recover, but we're not doing 20-minute, half-hour squat sessions here. We're doing probably 2 to 3 minutes in that area at max if you're applying my techniques. So you could do that every morning. You could do it a little bit later in the afternoon if it feels good. Some of my clients with chronic pain due to fibromyalgia, MS, those type of things, find that by doing squats, even if it's just for a minute or two and they're not really doing a fitness session, it activates those muscles in a different way and gives a lot of relief. I'm going to come to the camera and see if we have any questions here. Do we have any questions out there? I know that I did say that we'd end at that half past the hour, but we technically only stop when I decide. So does anyone have any fitness questions, or has somebody tried some of these things or is afraid to try some of these things? Feel free, if there's anyone that is watching now, to post a question if you have any. If you do not have any, this is kind of the first of, I'm going to do a series on feel good workouts, and I'm going to do a series on fitness workouts. I know that you guys really want something more so that you can follow, and as this page grows and builds, you know that you're going to find more like that. The last few sessions and today again, it's about getting information, habits, technique, kind of unschooling some of the things you thought you may have known about whole body vibration, and letting you know it's really not that cookie cutter. It really is about what works for you, what feels best for you. The biggest difference between the fitness and the feel good, and where people types of exercises now. And again, a vibration machine is simply an environment. It makes the exercise positions or stretches or whatever position you're doing on the machine to a degree more effective. And it also dramatically reduces the amount of impact and time that you spend exercising. So stop thinking about the condition or the label that's been placed upon your head. Look at your body and what am I physically capable of doing and tolerating. And that will very much dictate the intensity of your positions, the durations of those exercises themselves. How long a session will be, just to recap, fitness is going to be really depending on your fatigue levels and what kind of stuff you are working on. Keep it simple. 2, 3, 4 positions if you're just starting out. If you're an exercise guru and you've got a program you're working on with your trainer right now, try incorporating some of those exercises on the machine with some of the principles that I've applied. For feel good, they tend to be shorter, 3 to 5 minutes, a couple, 3 times throughout the day. Maybe you're doing a warm up before you go to the pool, or maybe you're doing a recovery session, after you've cleaned the house. So that those feel good sessions tend to be shorter, tend to be less intensity and less effort on your part. I do have some questions. I'm just realizing I'm scrolling down. Kim says she mixes it up when she's when I'm fatiguing and a little recovery, and try fitness and squats again. You can manage. So you are, pushing yourself, taking a little breather and going back into it. That's good. That's good. She's using a memory foam bath mat for her knees, of course, too. That's I'm not about you guys spending more money. You've already spent money on a machine. You've usually got something around the house that you can use, a fluffy towel or something if you need some padding. And longer term, head to your dollar store or whatever. They've got all kinds of shelf liners. Kitchen mat Kim has is just a little bit classier because she's just a classier chick. I have a question from Lynette. Hello, Lynette. Thank you for being here. If by chance we are not able to get on the floor, is there a way to do arms by moving the machine to a table or something? That's a big debate in the community, and I got to be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of putting machines up on tables or on stools. Some people experience the machine moving around on the floor. And the reason that happens is as the machine gets moving, depending on the surface you have it on, it may move around. And it's because there's no body weight on the machine. Once you're standing on the machine, it's not going anywhere. So they are designed to be moving with a certain amount of body weight on it for that reason. That being said, I do deal with a lot of pediatric recovery as well, and I'm dealing with light little bodies, and some of them have some very, very limited mobility. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but if you are putting it up on a table for the purposes of this, you're not going to get much more benefit than if you're sitting on the chair and putting your hands and elbows on the knees. I would prefer to work on the range of motion and get you down on the ground, or add some resistance bands, something of that nature to your standing positions. Lynette, I think that's progress, some hand weights. If you do not have straps for your machines, if you do not have weights around the house, go to your cupboard, go grab a couple soup cans, go grab a couple water bottles, something that's just comfortable to hang on to. You don't need to go spend money on kettlebells and things like that. So if you don't have anything around the house, and you're stable, or grab something that you've got in the cupboard, a bag of rice, put on a backpack and put in some weight. By adding weight, you're going to fatigue faster, you're going to get stronger, and it's weight training. There's lots of advantages if you want to look into that. You're just adding more weight to fatigue faster on the machine. Some people do put the machine up on a surface, Lynette. Everything I talk about is my preference and my experience. There is no cookie cutter equation. It kind of depends on the machine. So if you're dealing with like like what I was using today, a Life Pro Waver or other machines, they don't weigh a whole lot, and you probably could muscle that up onto the table. But if you're telling me you're unable to get down on the ground, I have concerns about you lifting a machine and putting it on a table. I don't want to put you in a you know, in an unsafe situation. So, I see more people hurting themselves trying to move the machine around than using the machine themselves. So, I think there's other ways that we could get creative. And Lynette, that maybe sounds like a session. How do I do more upper body if I can't get down on the ground? So I'll get that done here actually in the next week because I've had other asks. Kim says, I'm here leaning on my arms with my foam noodle like you showed me previously. Yes, the pull noodle is my second favorite accessory to a chair, and it's just to mix it up a little bit. If you are finding that you're limited to, whether you're doing fitness or feel good, if your range of motion has you restricted to a chair, sometimes it gets a little boring just sitting there and doing the 2 or 3 things that you've been doing. So the pull noodle is a nice thing to put under the feet, roll the feet around, put it between the knees. There's a lot of things you can play with. Kim says, I actually sit in my chair, lean on my knees, and use the foam roller. Oh, that's a good idea too. Maybe you could post a little picture and put that up to share in the feed. Lynette has given me a thumbs up, probably more so to just stop me from rambling. But yes, I do hope that I've answered your question. And I think, I'm only as good as the team I play against. So the more information you guys can provide me, the more that you can, tell me I can do this and I can't do this. It's like baking a cake. I'm just a baker. I don't have all the time, and maybe you've got a better recipe than me. So the whole point of this group is to share. We're used to experimenting. I'm going to give you some basic foundational guidelines, but I'm really excited to see how we evolve and share, some of the variations that have maybe worked out for you. And I don't want you to be afraid also to share the variations that haven't worked out for you. If I'm doing something that's not working for you and I keep just saying, do this, let me know. Your body changes from day to day, and, my attitude is different from day to day. So there's literally hundreds of thousands, if you think of every exercise, every stretch that you've ever done or is available in the history of the world, there's a lot of options, and a vibration machine isn't a separate or different thing that you need to learn and understand. It's just an environment that makes exercises easier. So whatever those exercises look like for you, are going to vary. For feel good's the bigger category. I would say 70 to 80% of people using machines just want to move and feel better. But what happens once you do start moving and feeling better, sometimes you're prone to want to progress and get into the fitness things because you just didn't think it was possible. Many of you have had poor experiences. You've overdone it. You've bought things that haven't worked for you. And the coolest thing about a vibration machine, if you're willing to be patient with me and experiment, I can honestly say in 14 years of doing this, I've maybe had 1 or 2 situations where I just gave up. It's very rare that I can't find a modification or work with you and tweak things to find what's going to work or what feels better. You just got to let me know what's going on, good or bad. So I hope that helps. I rambled today and I was trying to do what probably should have been a 2-hour session in 30 minutes because I know everybody's got lives. So that was just kind of a brief overview, but I will be breaking my sessions into 2 categories. They're going to be feel good or they're going to be fitness. Now, between those 2 categories, feel good and fitness, there's certain benefits that you're always getting. Things like expediting recovery, circulation, lymph, balance, bone density. I'll get into that. That's a whole separate 4-day chat. But very briefly, bone density. A lot of just by standing on a platform, people think they're going to get bone density. How is that possible? Whereas my exercise, people might think, well, you got to do squats and push-ups and, have those muscles pulling on those bones. But bone density, take the vibration machine out of the equation. Bone density is about bearing your weight, standing and bearing your weight. And if you are, very, very sedentary, your physical therapists or your OTs might be telling you, just try standing up. for as long as you can and sitting back down. That's your body builds its bones and its muscles based on it's exposure to gravity. And even the lowest level, most inexpensive vibration machine on the planet increases your exposure to gravity. I'll get into that on a separate session. And different machines have a higher range of gravity that they can expose you to. So essentially why you fatigue and why you get more benefits out of these machines is they're doing those exercises and being more effective in a shorter period. They're slightly increasing your exposure to gravity, which is a healthy thing, and I'll get into that in another session. But if bone density is your goal, frequent, regular use. If weight loss is your goal, frequent, regular use. If, any of the fitness stuff, any of the feel-good stuff, you got to stick with it. Once a week is going to give you some relief, but it's not going to give you those long-term goals that you're looking for. This was awesome, Debbie. Thank you. Thank you, Lynette. Someday I will, 10 Brumler. I'm wondering if there's some German in there, perhaps. My maiden name was Wackett, but I come from a long line of Germans. I have a Siolsik and a Brozek and an my middle name is Ursula. So I'm saying hopefully it's 10 Brumler, but I want to know how to pronounce your name properly. And I think that's probably it for today. It's been 45 minutes. I'm just rambling at this point. What I would like you to do today, if there's things I rambled past and you had clarity you needed, please just ask. If there are particular things like Lynette has pointed out that you cannot do and you would like to do and you're looking for alternatives, just post a message in the page or a post. Sometimes just answering or talking within a conversation is good, but not everybody sees it if it gets lost in the comments. So if you do have something new and a conversation, kind of gets away from the topic that was originally posted, to share, I want you to participate in the page, and sometimes posting your question versus just putting it in a thread, it gets seen faster, not only by me but others that are coming into the page that maybe aren't looking at the notifications that there was just an additional comment. So if a conversation is going off on a tangent or into a new area that is valid to discuss, maybe sometimes posting a new question is a better way to get that up to the top and get people re-engaged versus it being lost down in 50 comments. So I appreciate, it's Dutch. Okay, now I want donuts. Thank you for letting me know on that, Lynette. And I appreciate for those of you that were able to join me today for being here. Thank you so much for your continued support. Share this page with your friends if you do have those dealing with lipedema. I'm starting to put videos also up on my YouTube channel. I recognize not everybody is on Facebook. And if you want some custom support, some one-on-one, you want me to hold your hand, I charge a reduced rate. You will notice on my main page, vibrationguide.com, that I charge $100 an hour for a session. I am not the type of trainer that teaches you just enough to come back. This group is to give you guys more because I know there's more that you're dealing with and you just don't fit in those confines of the traditional fitness world. So if you did want a session and you wanted to do a one-on-one with me, I charge a reduced rate of $40 to this group. So if you have any questions or you did want to do something specific, sometimes you just don't want to discuss it in the group because you're cautious about what you're working with or you're not sure. So that's an option as well. And if you need information, just send me a personal message or you can do a post on the page. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kim, for being here. I'll figure out the co-host thing at some point, but it didn't happen for today. So